Welcome to Squatch-D where the truth is first before all else. Join your hosts, veteran investigator, TV personality, and author Steve Kulls, and from the Kentucky Bigfoot Research Project and the Kentucky Fried Fixes channel, Chris Bennett. Sit back and prepare to take yourself on a journey with the longest-running Bigfoot podcast, Squatch-D. Here are your hosts, Steve and Chris.
And good evening, cyberspace. Welcome to Squatch-D for today's date. And is it me or is my camera backwards?
Well, I'm seeing you.
No, I mean, is the actual camera backwards?
Well, you're right side up, and I see normal view, I think. Look good to me.
No, my camera is mirroring.
No, I see Squatch Detective.
No, it's backwards.
No, it's not. Not on the show. I see back behind you, your squatchdetective.com seal on the door. It's not backwards. It's written correctly. Yeah, maybe it's just your view.
What the flip is going on tonight with this bullshit? Pardon my French, folks. This is getting very aggravating, to say the least, because it's mirroring me on this, and it's kind of annoying because I don't know. It's like my logo's backwards. It's kind of
it looks good on screen. That's all I can tell you, bud. I don't even know if mine mirrors or not. I don't even know if it does.
Because the way I'm looking at it, it looks like my wedding ring and my watch are on my right hand.
Oh, okay.
Are they on my right hand or left hand?
No, that's your left hand. Yeah.
Okay.
According to what I'm looking at, yeah.
I don't know why that's doing that there.
I don't know.
It's been one hell of a night. We had a lot of audio issues.
The gremlins have come out, yes.
And then, why was the stream deck not working? That's because StreamYard changed some things. They used to have a separate section for video and a separate section for audio.
Right. And
now they changed it to media assets, and they got rid of the hotkey. So my media button and my stream deck wasn't working. So, I have these quick buttons that I can toggle all this stuff without having to use the mouse.
Wonderful.
Like, to mute myself or shut the camera off. I can do that with the push of a button now.
Yeah.
But
Jen,
for some,
on this, man. Thank you, Jen.
Talk about being aggravated for the last 25 minutes or so. And then for some reason, my volume wasn't working properly. But, it was like, well, the quality is good, but you're kind of low. And I would notice that too, because on the audio check-in, I can look at my settings and see the meter wasn't bouncing.
Right.
And like it normally does. And so I just switched browsers and that seemed to work. So I don't know what's going on. I think StreamYard is not playing well with Opera anymore. Maybe, maybe it may not be the Opera browser's fault. It may be some changes they're doing at StreamYard that play nicely with Google Chrome, but not necessarily the Opera browser, which I use to do a lot of stuff with.
Well, right now, your audio is great. Before the show, it was a little low. And then when you got right up on the microphone to test it, it was still the exact same volume. And so there's got to be something in that browser that is adjusting your mic volume.
Well, I think part of that too is the software in the mic. It kind of, I can get up to the mic real close, and that makes me sound a little. But you know what? For the first time, I'm actually hearing myself. So I think the way to go is from this part going forward, I may have to switch back to the Google Chrome browser as my default, unfortunately.
Yeah, well, that's
or at least for the show, I mean, it's no big deal because it's just another icon on my screen. I have that, and I also have Microsoft Edge. I have 3 different browsers on this computer that, in case one doesn't play well with the other.
Well, don't get me wrong. I'm not some big conspiracy theorist, but when I've got my microphone on and me and the wife are talking about like, hey, I'm getting in the mood for Pizza Hut pizza. And a few minutes later, this ad pops up, the next website we go to for Pizza Hut coupons. So
Yeah.
that seems kind of coincidence. I don't know. But
and Bristol, I am not a big fan of Microsoft Edge at all. But here we are tonight for the Sunday night. We're just going to hang out tonight. We're going to do instead of a walkabout, we're going to do a Bigfoot Talkabout. We can talk about Bigfoot, other things, whatever you want. Yeah. And of course, ask Steve anything. Of course, asterisk I put there with except politics and religion. Just to forebode, because I don't want somebody asking me about politics and saying, "Well, you said ask anything." Although somebody did ask me, how many feet in a cubit? And we properly answered that at 1.5 feet per cubit. So
that'll work.
So
let's do the roll call because I know we got a lot of people here.
Yep. Certainly has. Jeremiah's already asking questions and they're starting trouble. All right. Yeah. And the chat's hopping tonight too, by the way.
Yes, it is.
All right. In the house, Pat Collins. Grant Rasha, Walter Kroll, Karen Fisher, hello, Roy Longley representing the lurkers. He said he's lurking towards a really good show. Sandra Piper, Ron Meldrum, hello, Grasshopper, what's going on? Boris Kahn, what's up, baby? What's going on? The Susie Monster in the house. Ristel, already got a mention already for a comment. Finding a Trackway, Bill, what's up, brother?
Bill.
John, Sasquatch, Wizard, Adirondacks, hello. Sharon, what's going on? Gary Johnson Sr., Jen, what's going on? Jen, our moderator in the chat, probably with her assistant somewhere in the background. Okay, now we're starting. Jay Carey also here.
Hey, I'm lost already.
I'm scrolling right along. I do this pretty good, actually, surprisingly. Robert Denduven, what's up, brother? Scrolling. Keep them. Kevin Harder, Professor, what's happening?
Kevin, good to see you. Oh.
All right. Well, we're having technical difficulties.
There.
No. I had to get the beans above the Frank.
That would be rough. Yeah. Shirty Hintz.
Shirty Hintz is in the house. Sorry, I'm scrolling. Brian S., what's going on, Brian? Good to see you. We're almost there. Mary Roller. Hello, Mary. Sorry to hear about your brother. Our deepest condolences to you and your family. Who else?
Yeah, we got a lot of chat to scroll through tonight because we got a start.
Pete H in the house. Jeremiah, Bigfoot Society. What's up, my brother?
Good to see you, man.
All right. I think we got everybody. I haven't seen Mick tonight.
I don't see Mick, yeah. Hopefully he's okay.
Sandwich Savant. There is Sandwich Savant.
Welcome.
Love that name. God, I love that name. And you're listen, you need anything, Mary, you give me a holler.
I think I did see a question in there for you, Steve, somewhere. I've done scrolling.
Jeremiah asked it. There it is.
Please. Here we get the biggest. It's 2025, finally the year we get the best Bigfoot evidence ever.
I'm going to make a prediction. The year will be 2027.
I don't know. It's not looking too good for Kentucky right now because the leaves are out. we're green again, and the ticks are in full force.
No, Mick tonight. Boris says the meatloaf got him.
There you go. Steve, how do you express the square root of 2 as a ratio of integers?
Hang on, let me think upon that. Let me think upon that.
You can't. Because the 2 is the square root of 2 is an irrational number. So you can't. You can't do it.
It's an irrational number.
Yeah.
Where is that question?
Know what you think about that?
Hang on, put that back up.
Okay. Yeah. How do you express the square root of 2 as a ratio of integers? And I said you can't because 2, the square root of 2 is an irrational number. It can't be expressed as a ratio of integers. Check me.
Dang it, Chris, you got that question 100% correct. It's irrational.
Yeah, well, the square root of 2.
Just like this show sometimes. Irrational.
Yes, we are. We are.
See, you know what? All that frustration is now just letting out of me, and
It's gone. Yes.
It's gone. I'm being raucous and rankus and whatever. And thank you, Methadone for Life, our good friend you.
Wow.
Just give us another $5. Thank you, sir.
Methadone for Life. Appreciate it.
And you're in the house too, as is Jay Carey snuck in as well.
Jay?
And Jay said he used to date an irrational number.
Yeah. Haven't we all?
Hold on. Was she a 2? Mary says, I don't even know what that means, I don't think. Oh, goodness gracious. Thank you, Professor, for starting trouble.
Professor Harder, the troublemaker. Oh, you guys.
All right. Let me just say this: math is wasn't my strongest subject.
Gary Johnson Sr. says, "Why was the ghost of hell behind me just staring at me? The ghost of hell behind me just staring at me. I don't know. That's philosophical question, I think.
Did you have bad gas?
Was this?
If he was standing behind you and you let one rip, yeah, I can understand why he was staring at you. Like, really?
Oh, yes. Trackway. That's all we can ask. Yes. You wouldn't want to be me. But
you asked, speaking of ticks, does anyone have a surefire remedy to keep the devils off of you? Yeah, don't go in the woods.
Yeah.
Stay in the house.
Yeah.
You see, you know what? This is going to be like one of those shows where, Steve's advice. You want good advice? That's money. You want bad advice? That's free.
Well, the Holiday Inn Express.
You goes good enough. LOL.
We stayed in one of those in Florida one time, and I remember what really struck me about it. The best thing about it was down in the commons area, down in the lobby, they had a waffle maker, and you could put your waffle in there, and then cook it for a little while and flip it. It would flip upside down. It was really cool.
Okay.
It was amazing. Of course, I'm from
Chris.
that amazed me. Yeah, man.
All right. See, now we're rolling tonight. Now, Professor Harder asked another question. What do you call two crows? And hang on. Let me just.
Oh, I know what a group was called.
Yeah, well, that's a murder. Hang on.
Yeah. That's. Why would they call it that? Isn't that strange?
Well, here's a couple of crows. There's a couple of crows.
Oh, yeah. Tom Biscardi started searching for Bigfoot Incorporated and
Oh,
investigated
an attempted murder. That's pretty good.
Yeah, I think you would need 3 for to be classified as a murder. Oh, Doss crows. That's good. That's good.
I'm sorry. I had to put that picture up there.
I would call 2 crows they, them. Yes.
Hold on. Gary asked, why was I told Bigfoot name in my mind speak in the middle of the night? I have a decent answer with that. Too much NyQuil. Too much NyQuil is probably the reason why.
Well, I don't know, but we have had a guest on the show many years ago, Midnight Walker. If you're out there, how you doing? And he claimed to have that experience with the mind speak and the Bigfoot creatures. But after we talked about it some after the show, and I think he was willing to concede that it could have been coincidence, because in his mind that he saw this creature as it was moving away, he thought to it, will stop and let me get a look at you. And the creature, correct me if I'm wrong, Steve, but the creature stopped, at that same time that he thought that. And which that gave him the impression that he could mind speak with these creatures. And I think it could be listed as just a coincidence because, I've done this before. I'm driving along and the family's in the car and we're coming up on a red light. And right before we get to the red light, I say, change now. And then it turns green, Well, did I force it to do with the power of my hillbilly brain? No, it was just coincidence. Lucky. Change now, then we went from red to green. But, oh, man.
What's the funniest piece of Bigfoot proof you've seen lately? And he puts Bigfoot proof in quotes.
Oh.
Lately, let's see.
I'll tell you what, it's been
the Fu Manchu Bigfoot that we showed last on Friday. That was pretty funny.
That's it. Yeah. Has the white I don't know. I know. Where did they get hair dye in nature? I don't know, or bleach in nature.
Well, like I said, just for Sasquatch,
just for Sasquatch. Oh man. But
Sasquatch in the night, exchanging tree knocks. That one's too light. Maybe I'll throw a rock.
But that mind speak thing, that's still people talk about that. Is it valid? I don't know. If they can read your mind, they would have. If they read my mind, they would have known that guy.
Not to show up.
That guy's scared to death. That guy's about ready to pass out. Yeah. What did? Oh, wait a minute. Let me get it up. What did Bigfoot do? The famous thing at me that everyone wants to hear. I don't know. I don't know, Gary.
I don't know. If anybody wanted to hear my thoughts, they'd probably go insane. Well, usually he gets a couple of pepperoni. There it is. Wants to know what the office assistant gets paid for. Usually he gets a couple of pepperoni, maybe a couple of cookies during the show. And then at the end of the show, he gets to go out, do his thing in the yard, come back in and get himself a bigger treat.
Fu Manchu Bigfoot.
Well, let me tell you something, brother.
With
that big stinky giant.
Okay. Oh. Well, yeah, Sandwich Savant says, I guess finding an undiscovered ape isn't exciting enough. Got to give them superpowers for the likes and views.
Well, again, there is a great amount of anthropomorphism and anthropocentrism tied into this. Right. People give them these supernatural powers because it's part of our anthropocentric mentality. Well, if we can't discover them, they got to be smarter than us. They got to have some superpower that we don't have because we can't complete the task.
Yeah.
Well, it took us how many centuries, how many eons to learn how to take to the skies, right?
Yeah.
Right? Or go underwater. Eons. I mean, we think that all the technology we have today was developed in a couple hundred years. No, it's been developed since man started, right? From day one. People don't understand that. It's not, yeah, there's been a technology explosion in the last 100 or so years, 125 years, but that, comparative to the overall time, mankind, Homo sapiens have been, the dominant force upon Terra Prime. It's eons. So it's not as quick as everybody thinks, but part of that anthropocentrism is, well, Bigfoot's got to have a greater power than us because we can't solve the mystery. And then you add the anthropomorphism and like, what makes you think a Bigfoot would jump through a portal? Well, why would they do that? That's something you might do to travel around, but maybe not something else. Another great example is mind speak. Well, how does a Bigfoot mind speaking to you in English? Right? It knows English because in order for it to communicate with you mind to mind, it would still have to know the language you're interpreting things through.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
It's like when I think in English. Now, I've had some very curious questions, especially with my old German instructor. I always thought, it must be quite interesting to be bilingual. What language do you think in? And she turned around and she says, well, when I was young and I was in Germany, I thought in German, but then I moved here. And slowly after time, I started, because I was using English so much, and my husband was, her husband was a U.S. Air Forceman, and that's how she came over to the United States and became a school teacher. She said after a while I began to think in English, but every once in a while, like a German word will pop into my head too. Right. And that kind of helped me speak the language a little bit as well. Was I started to, when I would see something that I knew the German word, I would think it. Mm-hmm. Window, Fenster, certain words, vocabulary, Wortschatz, there's certain words and they stick. Once you start doing that, they become fluent in your head.
Yeah. So, you start thinking in a different language and all of a sudden that language starts coming out, even accidentally sometimes. Yeah. But now Pete's got a good point here. It says, how do you know they're apes? Well, that's true. Maybe we should just say primates,
we are apes. Even Homo sapiens are apes.
Yeah.
And think about what is the definition of a primate. Large brain, forward-facing eyes, small snout, articulate hands and feet, meets all the, plus your typical mammalian type of features. Everything we have here says that it is a primate, and primates are part of the great apes. Primates are great. Great apes are primates. Right. So, I mean,
yeah, I would classify it as primate rather than saying apes, because an ape would lean more towards like the pongid. And,
the bottom line is the great apes are defined as the genus Homo, Australopithecines, like the pan troglodytes, Homo sapiens, gorilla barangi, and gorilla orangutans. I'm just starting to. They're all part of the great apes, including Homo sapiens.
All right, Steve. Here's one for you.
There we go.
That if a 3-month in the woods research camp was fully paid for, but you have to be with Todd Standing, Dr. Matt Johnson, or Tom Biscardi, who do you take?
Truthfully, I would take Todd Standing.
Yeah.
I would take Todd Standing. Dr. Matt Johnson, nice guy, batshit. Tom Biscardi, he would drive me insane. But Todd, I think I can get along, have a good conversation with him, even though I wouldn't trust everything he said or do. But I feel that out of the 3 mentioned, he is the least sycophantic out of all of them.
And Gary Johnson Sr. says, when I asked Bigfoot to show himself so I wouldn't shoot my gun his way, and he did come out in the open, why did he do that? Oop. I don't know.
I said you can ask me anything. I didn't necessarily guarantee answers.
Don't know. Could it have been a coincidence? That's what you got to ask yourself. Could it have been a coincidence? Like when I was riding in my vehicle and I had the kid and the wife in there with me, and I looked at the red light and I said, change now. And it turned to green. Could that have been a coincidence? I'm
Oh
certain.
yeah. My father used to know about because traffic lights are timed at different intervals.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember my father, after sitting at this light,
right,
for day after day, knew about the approximate time, and he would turn around to me when I was a little kid, sitting in the back of the car in my little car seat. He'd say, "Blow the traffic light out on the count of 3, 1, 2, 3." And the light would go out, and I'd be amazed. Okay. Like, why was Bigfoot on a higher ledge looking down at me? And I'm sorry, hold on.
Yeah.
Not that one. Hang on.
Oh. Dang it. Sorry, Steve. Go ahead.
When I asked Bigfoot to show himself so he wouldn't shoot my gun, and he did come out, probably because he thought you were Dick Cheney on a hunt. So he saw you out there with the gun. He says, "Oh, I don't want to get,
Well, that's one of them situations people get into, and it could have been a coincidence, or maybe he wanted to get a better look at you. I don't know. I have no idea. But usually, according to most of the reports from hunters, if you have a gun with you, the Bigfoot doesn't seem to be wanting to stick around very much.
Let's see. How much would a woodchuck chuck? Could a woodchuck chuck? A woodchuck could chuck wood. Well, a woodchuck would chuck wood if it could chuck wood. So there you go.
All the wood he could chuck.
Oh, there he is, slipping in through the back door, acting like he wasn't noticed. The mighty Mick is in here. We thought you had fallen victim to a meatloaf. So good to see you here. But yes, getting back to that, I mentioned that we are starting Project Forest Walker, which is a project I am leading, and we're slowly putting it together.
Yeah.
And it's not a short-term project. That's why I say you want probably the best Bigfoot evidence to come out. I'm going to predict 2027.
I don't know. But I think, where was it? Oh, when Gary Johnson Sr. is talking about his sighting, I think it would be a great idea to record that stuff.
So, Gary, my last name is spelled Kulls, Kulls. Just FYI you that.
Yeah.
And I understand you've had some interesting experiences. And
record those behaviors because don't rely on your memory to keep it, because you never know when you get brain damage. Okay. Those memories can go, but write it down. It's very important.
And I have no doubt you encountered what you're saying. But people, and like I said, for those who have read The Psychology of Bigfoot, that that could be. Oh, and by the way, Chris, back on April 5th, completely, because we were on a little bit of a hiatus there, the release of What Would Sasquatch Do Volume 2 came out.
Good.
So
finally, now I can put that on my orders and get those ordered in, because I want the hard copies. That's what I want. I want the hardback hardcovers. Good stuff. And Jay Carey says, "What a concise, friendly way to explain the difference between evidence and proof to the smug peasants who join every comment thread about Bigfoot." Concise, friendly way to explain the difference between evidence and proof.
Well, okay. So I would explain to them that evidence are physical items that could pertain to a particular hypothesis. For example, evidence, this could be, Sasquatch blood, or this could be a Bigfoot hair, or this could be whatever.
Right.
Proof is basically what proof is the full summation of all collected evidence. That's what proof is.
Well, yeah, I think proof is going to have to be when you've got a body on a slab.
No. But what I'm saying is that a pure definition,
right,
is what proof is a pure summation of all the evidence combined and analyzed after its analyzation.
Yeah.
So evidence is just part of proof. It is not a piece of evidence is not proof in of itself. For example, and I'll give you a great example of criminals. Okay, I find. Okay, this is my suspect's bracelet, and it's paracord bracelet, and we noticed that inside one of the bands that there was some red marks, right? That's evidence, right? But we don't know it's blood until we test it. So that test of itself becomes more evidence. And then when we submit that blood sample, if it's positive, to DNA testing, that DNA result is another piece of evidence. So now we have 3 pieces of evidence out of one item, right?
Right.
And then it turns out that blood actually matches the victim, which the suspect claims he doesn't know, is never met. So therefore, now we have proof. And then what the proof is those 3 pieces of evidence put together as one. We have proof that he did come in contact with the witness, or with the victim. Yep. So that is a simple explanation of that, right? So yes, proof is the summation of evidence combined.
Gary says, "No, I'm keeping it locked in my brain." No, Gary, don't do that. Write it down. I promise you, you need to write it down, because after I had my little incident back in 2017 when my pump quit working.
Damn, I thought the proof was in the pudding. That's not a bad idea. You know what? I got out of my humorous mood for a second there, and that would have been a good one too. Yeah, it could be bread pudding, could be rice pudding, could even be tapioca pudding.
After I recovered from my surgery from my event in 2017, a good friend of mine, John Gray, hello John, if you're out there, he stopped by to visit me to see if I was recovering, and we were watching some videos on YouTube about him racing his car in Bowling Green at Beach Bend International Speedway. And John, I asked John, I said, "Oh, did you like that?" Then I asked him, I said, how do you get to back to the start from the end of the track? And he said, well, you've raced down there before. I said, no, I haven't raced down there. What are you talking about? And for the life of me, I could not remember racing there. And I had indeed raced about, I don't know, 5 or 6 different vehicles. And so, but that was gone for a period of time. And, as I started seeing some pictures of my old race cars and stuff, okay, then it come back to me. Oh my God, he must have thought I was nuts. But that little bit of the brain went away.
Well, mind you were in the hospital, correct?
Yes, I had surgery, and after the surgery, when he was visiting.
Right, yeah, and of course that is natural, natural after effects of anesthesia.
Yeah,
is to have a little bit of short-term
or
memory loss.
Yeah,
it's that just all that meant was you still have some of that anesthesia in your it still has a little bit of a neurological effect going on.
Right. This was long-term memories, and it took a while to get them back, but eventually get them back. But that was it. That would have been a good time to have that written down. I used to race a S10 Chevy truck down there. I used to race a 81 Chevy Corvette. A lot of V8 Vega, a lot of different cars that and one truck that I ran down there. But at that time, I didn't know I'd raced anything down there. And he looked at me so strange because he was down there when I raced my little V8 Vega. He looked at me so strange.
So Bill says, I'm not fond of the word evidence in the Bigfoot field. You need to be, because evidence is what you build proof upon. So if you're going to discount stuff as proof, now, mind you, let's be very clear. There are certain types of proof. You have direct evidence, which is witness testimony. That is proof. Can it be subjective? Yes. There are different types of evidence. Some are subjective. The ones that are important are the ones that are physical evidence that will either prove it or disprove your hypothesis on where that particular evidence came from. But it is evidence. People say that you'll have the skeptics who rather not bring up the fact that let's look at this realistically. We've had people seeing these things for since man has been in North America. If we turn around and discount all their sightings, now, sightings that happened 100 years ago where the person is deceased and it was told from mouth to mouth to mouth, that's anecdotal. But if you have somebody that writes their account down and submits it, that's direct evidence. That's not anecdotal. There it is. This is a person that saw that. Can they be cross-examined? Well, if they're alive, they can. If they're not, then unfortunately, then that's their last dying statement or their statement on that. That is evidence regardless. It's not anecdotal evidence. It's direct evidence. It's this person's testimony. Now, is it necessarily accurate? Well, if evidence of somebody saying something was completely inaccurate, it wouldn't mean so much in a court of law. Is it completely 100% accurate? Well, I can probably say 98% of the time it's not completely 100% accurate. There are things that the mind will shortcut. There are things that the mind will fill in the blanks with. There are things that necessarily, imagination may come to hand, or there might be some psychological side effects that may think that your mind's speaking with the Bigfoot when you're really not, or there are ghosts that surround it. You've had a real legitimate experience. The trauma of it is causing you to have these extra things. But I digress. So we must not discount the word evidence. Evidence is very important. It's going to be used to find your proof, because there is no proof without evidence. Remember that. Whether it be a dead body or a DNA sample. And it's how it's collected. And like I said, just in DNA alone, or fingerprints, where you lift the print and then you swab it with a buccal swab to get that DNA. Those are all evidence lines. They're lines of evidence. So everything is important. And then what's important too is the testimony of the person collecting that evidence. Yes, on this, I found this thing in the area of a Bigfoot sighting reported to me on yada, yada, yada. And on my car, overnight left was this handprint. We dusted it for prints. We saw that there was some print done. So what we did was we took portion of the print and we took a buccal swab of it to get those oils off the skin into as a sample that we can send out for DNA. And then we lifted the print and put that on a card and properly labeled it and secured it. That's evidence too, that whole statement. It's how that evidence was collected and how it was saved. And it starts that chain of evidence. That's the only way we're going to get to the proof topic. You understand? That's a big reason why the Ketchum study kind of fell on its face to begin with. If you think about it, hey, nobody is going to and that's why Darby Orcutt, that's why there's forms to fill out with Darby Orcutt, so they can begin the process of documentation when, where, how, and why that evidence was collected. Well, let's face it. What did we get from, Melba Ketchum? Oh, this fingernail was found in Arizona in the year, and this is what the test came out to be. Nothing elaborate, and that's not evidence. That's, you have no chain of custody on it. So that's issue number one with me before we even get to the junk science of things. It's the whole process.
Well, a sighting report, would that be considered anecdotal evidence?
No.
Somebody just said they saw it?
That's a direct piece of evidence.
Right. Okay.
Now, if the person turns around and says, hey, I heard this guy say this, that would be anecdotal.
Right.
So the skeptics are right. When we go to Bigfoot conferences, we recount these tales and these stories. That's anecdotal evidence. But the fact is that anecdotal evidence originates somewhere from direct evidence most of the time. But in court, what we call anecdotal evidence in court is called hearsay. Right? That is anecdotal evidence. It's hearsay. So, no, a person saying,
I fully believe that there are people out there that have witnessed these creatures and actually seen them. And then I also fully believe and accept that there are people out there that have seen a bear and fooled themselves into believing it was a Bigfoot.
No, I don't think Charlie heard me on that. Evidence is not proof. Proof is the summation of collected evidence when analyzed comes to a final hypothesis. That is proof. Evidence is just part of the proof. Proof is the big enchilada. So when people say, oh, I found proof, that's not proof. You found evidence, but you did not find proof.
And Gary says, why did Bigfoot stop me in my tracks? I think that's pretty common with everybody. I don't know.
It's very typical for Bigfoot too.
You either freeze or you run. I think that's there's two possibilities there. You either freeze or you turn around and beat feet. Oh, that's a good question. Sandwich Savant says, what good is DNA if it doesn't match anything known?
Well, you see, that's the beauty of the thing.
Well,
that was an excuse that we started to use, or actually the pro-kill people started to use. Well, if we find DNA, well, now we have the genome. Now, that argument 15 years ago may have been valid, but since then we have broken down the genomes of the great apes and of human beings. So now we can take that genome, and we know how we can take that DNA now and break it down into a genome and say, holy shit, this thing is really close to this type of primate, and it shares characteristics with this type of primate and that type of primate, but it is unique in of itself.
The science of DNA has improved by leaps and bounds.
Right. So, yes, that would be proof. Now, would it be ultimate proof? Well, it depends on one thing. Well, it depends on several factors, actually. Do we have a body part that it came from? Because, okay, that may help. If we came off a sample in the woods, okay, that's the weakest we're going to find. But what if somebody had gotten a trail cam video or a video of whatever left that evidence there, right? So if you have a video with the DNA collection and put the DNA collection on the video as well, right? Then you have your statement and your chain of custody of evidence. There's no reason to say, now, will science give a complete stamp of authority as definitive proof? Maybe not. But what they're going to do is start making a more concerted effort to go find that. And it's definitely going to shake them up.
Yeah, Trackless had a good point, sir. He says, I get that, Steve, but see, everything is evident. My example, I heard a wood knock without anything to support it came from the subject.
Well, it's evidence, but it's very weak evidence. It's no different than, well, I heard a commotion upstairs about 3 a.m. But then again, I heard another commotion at 5 a.m. Okay, well, did the assault or the homicide occur at what time? We don't know. So it's evidence, but it's not anything conclusive or even useful. There's a lot of evidence in a lot of criminal cases that prosecutors just don't use because it's weak, right? Somebody may have seen, well, I saw this sedan fly away. It was blue in color. Okay, well, we know we're looking for a blue, Grand Am. So they were looking for blue Grand Am, and that would be a sedan. It would be blue, but are we really going to use this piece of testimony to, help us prosecute our case? No, we don't need it. It's very weak. Now, I like said, what if we could link a Bigfoot to a human? How so? Because we've already linked. We all have linkage and lineage. You can look at any of the great apes and find commonality in Homo sapiens, and you can find look at the DNA of Homo sapiens and find commonality in any of the primates. So we're already linked. It's not going to be that.
That's something I think is a problem with earlier DNA test studies. They would start finding human characteristics in the DNA, and they would stop and say, hey, this is contaminated. Well, wait a minute. Now we know, no, that it may not have been contaminated, because just because it contains the same strings or same structures as some of the human DNA does not mean that that is human DNA, so that a human contaminated it. For example, the chimpanzee shares, a great, the same percentage of DNA as we do, like, I don't know, 97, 98, 99, whatever percentage is.
But if you've ever seen contaminated DNA originally, on the genetic code markers, it looks kind of whack. It does look a little whack. Oh, there's another good question too. Do you think, from Sandwich Savant, do you think?
I'm going to get it, Steve. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Do you think 100% proof of Sasquatch could negatively impact them as species? So, okay, we've proven that Sasquatch exists. And the government says, yep, they exist. Science says, yep, they exist. Could that negatively impact them? Hell no. Hell no. See, we're too cynical on a lot of different things. Well, we destroyed so many other species. Well, yeah, that were species we used to catalog for food and for fur, like buffalo and deer and elephants, which we used ivory for, and whales we used their fat and blubber for, and right. So there's a ton of reasons why we've hunted things to extinction. What is going to happen is if they ever recognize that the proof came out and it was a recognized species, do you think not for a second we would not have a law to protect them? At least if not at a federal level, but at a state level? Hell yes, we would, because they would be like the closest thing in another North American primate. They may be the closest thing to humans. Of course, we're going to protect them. And then we might start thinking, well, maybe we shouldn't knock down this forest because there's been a lot of sightings. So there's going to be a lot of talk after that, right? But the one thing you're not going to see is them hunted, right? We may take a few samples, not necessarily assassinate them, but take a few samples that we can study, a live study. Or maybe we can tag a couple and learn about them and understand about them. Because when we learn and understand about a species, we can better protect them. I mean, think about the last, 30 years. I mean, there's been a lot of animals. We talk about animals that have gone extinct. And yes, that is a damn shame. And sometimes that happens because of progress. But there's also a little bit of Darwinism there, too. We have to understand that certain animals, the reason why they're going extinct, well, we moved in on them. Well, not necessarily. They don't have the breeding population or whatever, and then they end up dwindling out. But look what we've done for, the one that comes right off the top of my head is the bald eagle. No longer an endangered species. It's a protected species, but it's no longer on the endangered list.
Well, and just because if Bigfoot was to be proven as it did exist, with the species, brought back and for what they call it, Steve, type species brought back and designated, that doesn't make them easier to find. They're still hard to find, but there probably would be more people looking for them, and probably some.
Well, you would see more professionals looking, people that. No, not yet. No, I have not sent it off to Darby. I still have it. It's still protected, sitting right over on my desk. I was waiting. I understand that Darby had some issues where he had to put a hold on some of the analyzation for a while. So I will be.
And let's see. Yeah, Mick, agree. Yeah. Just because that DNA study shows evidence of human DNA doesn't necessarily mean it's not Sasquatch DNA. That is correct. And they might be the result of crossbreeding with humans. We don't know. Well, I'm not sure I would agree with the crossbreeding part, Mick. But
no.
I'll see where you're going. We do share a lot of the same DNA as with other primates. So it would stand to reason that Sasquatch would share a lot of our DNA as well.
And you got to understand, a lot of crossbreeding produces creatures that cannot reproduce.
Yes.
Right. So that is very highly unlikely that it's a hybridization or anything like that. Texas Jack made a good statement. You want to throw that one up there, Chris?
There we go. So, Texas Jack says, right, can't protect what doesn't exist. People who think they don't need protection because they are elusive don't understand their greatest threat will be human encroachment, habitat loss.
100%.
Agree with that.
Yeah. 100%. Jay Fred. some of the women I dated were Sasquatches for sure.
Oh, that's terrible. It's probably true, but it's terrible. Shouldn't say that, Jay. All women are queens and princesses. Yeah. Hey, Fritz, you chose them. Yeah. There you go.
Yes, I asked Jay the other day if he's ever been with a 10. He said no, but I've been with a couple of 6s and a couple of 2s.
Two 3s and a 4. Oh man. Well, yes, that's true. And it's not about what's on the outside; it's what's on the inside that counts. That's the main thing. Everybody's giving Jay a hard time in the chat now. We love you, man. Oh man.
Jeez. Goodness gracious.
Oh, that's terrible. Okay. Chocolate shakes and I don't know if you guys have banana flips. Have you ever? Do you ever had a banana flip, Steve? Nope. It's like it's kind of like a supersized Twinkie. It's a cream-filled banana-flavored thing. But yeah, milkshake and a banana flip, man, that's hard to beat. That's kind of like an RC and a moon pie. You know, you just can't beat those things. Oh, let's see. Gary's talking about his sighting again. Says looking through his binoculars, watching him bob up and down like a cartoonish sort of way. Like, why did he let me watch him? Well, I don't know, Gary. He might not have been.
Maybe he didn't know you were watching.
Yeah, he might not have been aware.
Well, again, we can't anthropocentric and think that they know everything, because you know we are the dominant species. Now, as far as all the other events that are going on around that, I would dare say maybe you're getting hit with infrasound. Maybe it's possible traumatic, stress disorder. And guess what? The office assistant wants in the office.
All right, let him in. Let him in, Steve. Oh, but
yeah, let me go get Mr. Fancy Pants over here. Hang on.
But a lot of the sighting reports list where people walk up on the creature and they express to them they got the feeling that the creature was shocked at their presence. So it's like they walked up on each other unknowingly, So there's always that possibility. Or some of the reports where the creature saw them and then looked disgusted. I think was some of the statements that the witness gave. There was a look of disgust, and then the creature walked away.
There's the office assistant.
Oh man, Jay, look at this. Jay Fritz gifted 5 memberships. Thank you, Jay. Appreciate that.
Thank you, sir.
You're too kind. What a great guy. Man,
thank you.
Say something else. Jay Fritz, man, you are a man among men. We really appreciate you. Thank you so much. Sandwich Savant says, I think seeing a facial expression would be the most unnerving part of a sighting. I can agree.
Well, let's think about this for a minute. Would it be unnerving? I think seeing a Sasquatch in of itself would be unnerving. Yeah. But once that reality hits you, I mean, do we we get awestruck a lot of times when we see a gorilla or a chimpanzee or an orangutan make, their own expressions.
Yes.
Because some of their expressions are similar to ours. Like when they sit there and they look at you like this or a certain way, it all relates to primate. Primate.
No, Jay, you're a man among men. We really appreciate you.
Yes.
Oh, man. But the facial expressions deal, yes, that would be shocking, especially if it's not something that your brain had been programmed to accept.
Jay, let me ask you, Gary, rather, let me ask you a question, Gary. If the ghost of hell was behind you, how did you know it was staring at you?
I don't know. I'm not really big on the paranormal stuff. I've had a couple of experiences that could have been described as ghost-like, but do I really think it was a good? No, I think there's probably a rational explanation. When I was a kid, we heard the footsteps upstairs walking at 3:00 in the morning every morning. I don't know. Could it have been a ghost? Well, I don't know. Could it have been somebody up there walking around in army boots? Yeah. Yeah.
Who was that, in the barracks?
Don't know who. No. The old home place at Seymour. Yeah. That place is haunted, dude. Supposedly. If you believe in that sort of thing.
There you go. I'd like to know who the little girl was talking when I was at the Rolling Hill Sanitarium.
Yeah. So, even though I do not share a belief in the paranormal, I've had some experiences that are different.
What is the best cigar I've ever had? You know what? I'm a sucker. I don't like expensive cigars. I mean, they're okay. But my favorite cigar has always been a backwoods honey.
Well, to me, I like the, what's it called? It was a vanilla flavored cigar, and it might have been backwoods. I can't remember, Steve. But I'll tell you one thing, though. I have smoked a Cuban cigar, and you know what? It didn't impress me a bit.
Yeah, me neither. I actually got one up in Canada before they were.
Well, I won't say how I got mine, but it did not impress me a bit. And I'm like, people pay, an extraordinarily amount of money for these things. And why? Is it just the thought of it? Oh, well, it's from Cuba. Believe me, they ain't got nothing on it. I mean, on the U.S. stuff. Oh, let's see what we got here. I don't know, Gary. Let's see. Texas Jack says, it's unlikely they're all first-gen human hybrids, but the species as it stands could be the result of introgressive hybridization or back-crossing, similar to what happened with humans Neanderthals.
Yeah, but what I think is the constraint there is that you have two very dissimilar types of beings there. Kind of like why you cannot crossbreed a chimpanzee with a gorilla, right? You can't do that, and they have more in common than say we would. And another particular primate, lower primate.
Right.
The easiest explanation and applying Occam's razor would be that they are a divergent branch of primate. Whether they came from the Australopithecine line, maybe even the Paranthropus line.
Well,
and we all eventually, broke off from the Ardipithecine line. So,
right. So I think what we have there is the descendants of, the ancestors of the genus Homo were close enough that they would be compatible to interbreed
with the Denisovans and with the Neanderthals. And if you look at all of them, all the Neanderthals, all the Denisovans were bipedal.
Yes.
And their feet had already developed into an arch and a ball of the foot.
Pretty much
right. And they were made for, terrestrial walking, not arboreal. If you look at a Sasquatch's foot structure, it has characteristics of both arboreal and terrestrial locomotion. They have a mid-tarsal break, which generally is arboreal, but they have inline toes, which is terrestrial. And that is like a combination, but that combination does not necessarily come as a result of interbreeding or mixed breeding. That's kind of a misnomer, because when you have too much DNA that doesn't mix, then you can't interbreed.
We're looking with the foot structure in itself. That's something that's way different from the genus Homo.
And thank you, Mick.
Mick, thank you so much. Mick did 5 memberships. Thank you so much, Mick. Appreciate you, buddy. What a great man. These guys are. We couldn't hope for that. We couldn't hope for a better audience. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, no, you guys are awesome. And look, we got a great crowd, and we're just talking about things on the fly tonight, which is kind of fun.
But because of their foot structure, though, Steve, I believe that the interbreeding between their species and humans would be kind of a tough call.
I wonder if people think I'm smoking a cigar.
Yeah, it's not.
I am holding it like a cigar.
It's a vape. We're not promoting smoking cigarettes. No, we don't do that. I mean, we don't promote them. That.
What you looking at over there? Oh, you're looking at the cloud. Yeah, the cloud blew off over to the side. Also, the dog's like.
There's Dr. Jeff Harding says, "Hey, Steve, Chris, listening in the background while out in the shop. I do that too. I will put a show on, and I am a big lurker because I'll turn one of the talk shows on and listen to it while I'm working on something else. And it soothes my life. But we appreciate you listening. Thank you so much."
I hear movement out my front door. That's what I love about the noise canceling effect on this microphone. You can't hear nothing in the background. Yeah, I saw that. Jeff says, I thought it was a 1.
I'm not putting that one up. Okay. Okay. Boris Kahn said, "What lasts longer, a Christmas fruitcake or mixed mom-in-law's meatloaf?" Hey, dude, don't be beating up on fruitcakes. I love fruitcake. I do. I love it. And there's a place in off Interstate 75 in Georgia. I think it's Claxton, Georgia. And they've got a big sign right on the interstate that says, "Welcome to Claxton, Georgia, the fruitcake capital of the world." And they're talking about fruitcakes, not the people. So feel safe and free to get gas and buy yourself a fruitcake there. It's good stuff.
Oh, Boris Kahn asked a question too.
Oh, where we at? Uh-oh.
What?
Which one was it? Okay, that one. Yeah.
Oh, hang on a second.
This is for Steve, I'm sure, because I don't imbibe. but I do have a preference, and I'll tell my preference after Steve tells his, or the old preference, what it used to be. But it's from Kentucky, I'll tell you that. Ah, yes, okay. And honey, okay. My preference was ancient age. Back in the day, not now, but back in the day, ancient age.
I don't know. By looking at ancient age seems about right. I look in the mirror, and I went to the doctor. Actually, I said, Doc, every morning I get up and I look in the mirror, and I want to throw up. So I said, what's wrong with me? And he says, I don't know, but your eyesight's perfect. Right. Anyway.
Oh, yes. Whew. Need a buzzer. Dang.
As far as
oh wow, thanks, Faster Man says, I love watching these guys. This listing I don't like, so I wear earplugs during the whole show. Thank you, Faster Man. Oh, you probably didn't hear that though, did you?
Let's see. Sandwich Savant says, I'm a neat Scotch guy. One of the best scotches I've ever had is Oban, O-B-A-N. Give that a shot. Woo, good stuff.
Back in the day, no. But I'll tell you what, I do, as well, I don't have any in the house right now, but I did used to keep a small bottle of ancient age in the house. And every year at Christmas time, when they have boiled custard on the shelf, or well, in the cooler, you take and put a glass of that and 1 teaspoon of your favorite alcoholic beverage, and mix it up, and it makes the best boiled custard you've ever had in your life. And I was ignorant of this until John Gray educated me and told me to try. He said, oh, you got to try a teaspoon. He said, now don't put a bunch in there, but just put a teaspoon in a 16-ounce glass of boiled custard. Mix it up and then try it. And he was right. He was the best stuff you've ever had. Delicious.
You know what is also great? Is at the holiday time, we have a really good store that makes eggnog by us.
Yeah.
So I do is, put some eggnog in a nice good glass.
Yeah.
Add a shot of Jim Beam honey bourbon to it.
Right. Yes.
And then top it off with a little whipped cream. Heaven.
There's not a lot of difference between eggnog and boiled custard, but they put the nutmeg in the eggnog, and that's a taste that I don't like. I don't like that taste. But now with just boiled custard, good to go.
I like either.
Yeah. Well, my youngest son, Andy, asked me one year, he said, why do you drink that stuff, Daddy? What does it taste like? And I said, you want to try some? No, I don't want any. I said, oh. He said, what does it taste like? I said, well, it tastes like melted vanilla ice cream. I said, if you can get that in your mind, a melted vanilla ice cream. So he tried a cup of it, and then he drank a glass. And from then on, it's like every year, a month before Christmas, he's looking for it in the store. Oh, man, I can't wait till they get some more boiled custard. He loves it.
That's a South thing.
It's good stuff, yeah.
It's not a North thing, because we don't have that up here.
We actually had to make some this year. They only had it for like a week, and then it was gone. So we made some homemade boiled custard, which I knew how to do it. My mom could do it, and I remember watching her, but I had to find the recipe, and it turned out great.
So you guys call it boiled custard or egg custard?
Same thing. Yes, sir.
Gotcha. That makes sense.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
I saw the actual process. There's actually a channel on YouTube where they go into these old recipes, like from the,
right.
And he showed people how they made eggnog in the 1700s. And it's really great. He gives a little history lesson about the whole thing, and then he starts trying to make it. He tests it and see how it comes out because he's never made it before. And it's very interesting how they make the eggnog. That you got to put the eggs in. You got to heat it, but you got to at a very low temperature so the eggs don't.
Yeah, that's important. Yeah, and you got to have a water bath in order to make it properly without getting a scrambled eggs drink. That's easy to do. Oh, Jeff Harding says H&H has such a strong oak barrel finish. It's great to marinate venison steaks in for an hour before grilling. Well, I don't think it's to me it's not a strong charcoaly, but you know, I could think like Jack Daniels would be have a charcoaly flavor to it.
Boris Kahn asked the question.
Boris, okay, says Boris says, if I were to go to Whitehall's Bigfoot Festival, what airport should we fly into and then drive from?
That would be the Albany International Airport. It's actually located in Colony, New York. A very short distance from the Northway. I mean, like literally less than a mile. And you're on the Northway northbound to carry you towards the lovely hamlet of Whitehall. I would suggest finding lodging accommodations either in the town of Queensbury,
right,
Lake George, which may be on the expensive side, even though it's just out of season. Lake George wouldn't. Well, some people go there and stay. Whitehall is very, very limited lodging. It's not a very big town. But Queensbury is good, or Clifton Park, which is more of the metropolis of the area, the closest area, or Saratoga. Saratoga is even closer if you want to stay in Saratoga. But that gets a little more pricier. But then again, it is going to be, after Labor Day, it's off season, so the prices do come down a bit. But just hey, if you do come in and you want to fly in, it's a great time. And guess what? We'll be going out that night into the woods. So, Boris, if you show up, prepare to do some squatching in the evening.
Yeah. Boris said we flew to Boston and spent 12 days driving around New England a few years ago. What a great trip. I love to travel. I love the road trip. I love that part. It's not the destination, man. It's the traveling, getting to the destination. That's what I love. That when we went to Grand Canyon a few years ago, I loved the traveling more than I did the destination. I mean, don't get me wrong. The Grand Canyon is awesome. You guys out in Arizona, you got it going on out there. That's a wonderful thing. But just going and the time with the family and the hee-hawing and everything else, it was great. Love it. I don't know, Mick. I probably won't be doing that.
I won't care if it has nutmeg or not.
Yeah, don't care. Okay.
Somebody put cayenne pepper in my eggnog.
Oh.
Although cayenne pepper mixed with chocolate is actually pretty dang good.
Pass.
Oh, I know. I thought I would pass too until I tried a piece of what they call Mexican chocolate. It was cayenne mixed with milk chocolate.
Yes.
And that little bit of heat they put into it brings out that flavor of the chocolate. It's not even hot. It's not hot tasting. You taste it and it's like the chocolate pops. You'd be surprised. I was skeptical at first, but think about some of the things we've put in, like now they have hot honey, and then they have sriracha honey, and who thought about waffles and chicken and waffles? Who thought of all this, right?
Yeah. Well, I gotta admit, I do like the sweet Thai chili sauce. It's really sweet with the chopped up chilies in it, so it's pretty good. So it's sweet and spicy all at the same time. I enjoy that stuff. I have no idea. Maybe you can ask this, Steve. I mean, Boris says, "Why are there Dunkin' Donuts on every other corner out there in the Northeast?" Oh, you're muted, Steve. You're muted.
Because Dunkin' Donuts originated in Massachusetts.
Ah, makes sense.
I believe it was Bedford, Massachusetts, actually.
Yeah. Good stuff.
And not a big fan of Dunkin' Donuts anymore.
Well, was that the commercial where the guys got up? It's like it's time to make the donuts,
right?
Is that it? Okay.
And you used to go to a Dunkin' Donuts, and each Dunkin' Donuts had its own bakery.
Oh.
Now they all get distributed out of one common bakery.
Man.
So the freshness and the quality goes.
Yeah, that ruins it. Yeah.
Now I have up the road from me, not more than 3 miles or 4 miles from me, there is an apple orchard. And you can go into that apple orchard and they make apple cider donuts fresh every Sunday morning. You go in there at 9 o'clock and get a dozen of those bad boys and they just pull right apart.
Oh, dude, I don't know. I mean, I could go with apple flavored donut, but not apple cider. Ugh.
Apple cider donuts. Yeah, it tastes just like an apple. It tastes like an apple donut. It's just,
okay.
Yeah, very good stuff. And they're covered with cinnamon and sugar. And
I got you. Okay, I'm thinking of like a cider vinegar. No.
Apple cider. Yep.
I'm with you now. I'll try some.
And they make their own apple cider there, so you get there, and then they have on tap. And if you I got a couple of their jugs. I go in there and I fill up the growler with their hard cider that they make.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine that. You get fresh, hard apple cider and fresh apple cider. And they have apple pies and these donuts. Oh.
Good stuff.
And then I go 3 miles the other way. And I have a dairy where you get milk that's fresh as can be. And ice cream. Lots of ice cream. They have a great ice cream shop. Milkshakes. Oh, phenomenal.
I'm an amateur home brewer. I make it.
Jay says I've gained 15 pounds on the show.
And I tried apple wine, and it was too strong to suit me. It was really, really alcoholic. I mean, it was really strong. The flavor of alcohol would knock you down. So I don't do the apple wine anymore. But now the homemade grape wine or cherry wine or plum wine, yeah, I can do that anytime.
Oh, the hard cider, and they have different types of hard ciders. They have one around Halloween they mix, and it's apple with a tinge of pumpkin. Cider, hard apple cider.
Right.
And you put that in the glass and it is phenomenal. It's so good. It's got that little cinnamon, that little apple pie spice flavoring.
Right.
Oh my God. So.
Robert Denbuman says, I love the apple cider donuts. The cider mills here in Metro Detroit have the donuts freshly made every day in the fall. So good. Awesome.
Yeah. I remember me and the wife, we went out there one day and we were going to get, a dozen to bring home. We ate them before they got home because we got them and they were all warm. It was like, oh, give me
And Gary Johnson Sr. says, did I leave you two stumped with my questions? Well, I don't know, Gary. I can't answer. I can't answer questions about your sighting. I don't. Why did the Bigfoot stop when I saw it? I don't know, man.
Why did the Bigfoot cross the road to get to the other side?
No. We have to be honest more than anything else, and that's that. Sometimes that means we have to say, I don't know.
My favorite vintage Bigfoot story always has been and always will be the incident at A Bear Road, Brian Goslin. Now, Brian's been on the show. He has this great little book. Let me pull it. And mind you, it is not a huge, big, thick thesis. It is only about 75 pages long, but it's his account of everything that happened.
Bear Road, the true story. Okay.
Yep. And that's his little book about it. So there you have it in print. So that is my classic vintage story where, there had been a rash of sightings in the Whitehall proper area. Brian decides on his own to go out and stake out an area that on Bear Road, which was seems to be the epicenter of all these sightings. And across the road from him was a state trooper. Of course, Brian was, at the time, was a police officer. He was off duty, decided on his night off to go out and stake out Bear Road. And there it was. The trooper peeled off when he saw it, and there it is. Brian got out of his car, had his gun drawn, flashlight on the creature. Creature kind of turned around, looked at him, put its hand up, kind of to block the light, kind of let out a moan, and just kept on walking. So great story. Met him, heard that story more than a dozen times in person. Never deviated. And I could see how emotionally he gets torqued when he starts telling about the story. Took a lot of flack from people because he went public. He was public about it. Made all the local news at the time. And that was really the apex of the sightings. And then years later, there was another sighting by another Whitehall police officer, Dan Gordon, the late Dan Gordon, a great guy. If you ever watch my Monster Quest, he was on there and talks about that particular experience.
Well, Mick's got a question here, which it does lead into something though. Mick says, "I wonder how ornery Sasquatch get when they find someone's still of shine and start dipping into it."
Well, the thing is, with most shine, it tastes very chemical. It tastes very strong, very pungent. So it may not be something a Sasquatch necessarily would try to sample. However, if you have something sweet enough, like a marinated or a fermented beverage, rather, like a fermented apple cider or fermented grape juice, yeah, absolutely, because of the sweet and the fruitiness and the effervescence of it. Absolutely. But I don't think they would shoot straight alcohol like that. I don't think they would be big on vodka or gin, but although gin may be because of the piney type of taste, but
well, the moonshine still mash has a very bitter flavor. And that would not be a taste thing. They wouldn't enjoy that, I wouldn't think. But now, like Dr. Jane Goodall experienced with the chimpanzees going after the rotten apples, the fermented apples, they would rather have those than the fresh apples. Right. That goes to show you that they may be crave of some of that naturally produced alcohol. But even though an apple is rotten, though, it still has a sweet flavor.
Yeah, and generally, sometimes like a banana, the more older it gets, the sweeter it gets. Yeah. Right. Nick has a question in there too.
Let's see.
Got it up. No, I'm spoken for. Sorry, couldn't do it.
No prom dates for Steve. Oh, let's see. Gary says, "While spring cob."
All right, I am really.
I'm not sure, Gary.
All right, listen. Enough with those questions because they're silly and they're pedantic. I mean, I
don't do paranormal. Okay.
Well, yeah, it doesn't matter. Why does Fred go bowling on a non-bowling night? I don't know.
Less people there.
We're talking about ghosts. For God's sake.
I have no idea.
We're talking about Bigfoot. But I don't, ghosts, who knows?
Boris Kahn got a fair point here. Says when someone says Sasquatch would be seen more if they existed, have you ever made reference to the North Pond hermit Christopher Knight?
No.
Isn't that the guy that was that the? Wait a minute, correct me if I'm wrong, but is that the guy that got out of some sort of draft, or was drafted and hid in the woods?
I have no idea.
For years.
I don't even know the North Pond hermit, to tell you the truth.
Yeah, Boris, you could fill us in on that, man, if you can. Was that the guy that did it to? He lived in the woods to avoid going to war. Is that the same guy? Oh, he lived at the North Pond for 27 years. Wow. And there's Bob. Yep. Hey, Bob. Good to see you. Welcome.
Mr. Hip, sir. Good to see you.
Better late than never. Catch the replay. We appreciate having you here, though. Thank you. Oh, man. Well, there are people that do live off-grid. They live back in the woods. And some of them, I'm certain, do live off the land. Now, does that mean that they're wild people that have to go hunt for roots and stuff? No. It just means they live like the old settlers and pioneers used to. They have their own garden. They have their own animals, and they're the off-grid living people. And there's nothing wrong with that. You know, if you can deal without having internet and all this input that we get nowadays, which I think would be a good thing for some to get away from. I think a lot of
fact is that they are seen, and they're seen frequently, and people.
Gotcha, Jay. Thanks.
Yeah.
Jay said no draft, just mentally unstable. Yeah. But I can go off grid. I am thoroughly 100% convinced, certain that I could live without going to the store ever again in my life. I would need 6 months to get started, but would I want to live that way? No. I've grown used to having my HBO and my YouTube and stuff like that. I like that stuff. But could I? Yes, absolutely.
A nice, even like comfort food, like a grilled cheese sandwich.
Oh yeah, man, good stuff. Especially now, if you got your own cows.
Because, there's a process to make cheese, though.
Yes, it is. I know how to do it.
And butter, and I mean, we all know how to do it. Doesn't mean I want to do it.
Right, exactly. But if worse came to worse, and it got down to it, society ended tomorrow. Well, I'm still going to have butter, and I'm still going to have cheese. Well, no, not if it ended tomorrow, because I don't have any cows right now. But I could probably buy a cow or trade for a cow from somebody. No problem. But when we grew up, I grew up on a farm. We milked cows. We had 64 head. We had our own milk. We had our own butter. I'm not going to say churning butter was fun, but I've done it. We had our own cream. Of course, anytime you pasteurize your milk, the cream off the top.
See, Chris got the right idea. He says, I live like the pioneers. I drive McDonald's and never use Grubhub. I rough it. Hell, I don't even sometimes I park the car and actually walk in. I don't use the drive-through. Why? Because you always get in the drive-through.
Well, I was raised in a generation to where not long ago, and not too many generations ago, in fact, my grandfather and grandmother, when they grew up, that's how life was. Everybody grew their own garden. You canned your vegetables, and that's what you had to eat during the winter. So, you know, the concept of, yeah, sure, there was a general store, but that was just something, you know, if you needed something like a hammer or you needed a tool or something you could buy.
What in the heck is that comment? Seems like I know a lot more than anyone else. Yeah, okay.
Searching for answers and doing my ordeal with Bigfoot and what came about. Just awesome indeed. Okay, Gary. I can't dispute you, bud. Authentic Amish Chris, churned butter. I can't believe it's not voodoo. Yes, I did churn butter. Yes.
So I read a very interesting article on a guy that I knew. I actually met him last year at the Pennsylvania camping Bigfoot camping adventure. Great guy. His name by the name of Rick Fisher.
Yeah.
Who does all kinds. He does paranormal stuff. He does Bigfoot stuff, but he knows where to separate it. But he was talking about the Albert Witch in Pennsylvania.
The what?
The Albert Witch.
Albert Witch. Is that some kind of paranormal thing?
No, actually, did not know. Well, depends who you talk to.
That's a new one on me.
But what it is described as like a 5 to 5.5 foot hairy, bluish grayish haired creature that looks a lot like a human,
right?
But has a propensity at times for throwing apples at people or eating apples, or in one particular instance. But
dang it.
The similarity, I mean, in one particular instance, it was throwing apples. Let me clarify that.
Okay.
But if you think about it, it could be a juvenile Sasquatch. As a matter of fact, it's very interesting. There was a researcher who I know, who him and a Pennsylvania state trooper liked to horseback ride together.
Right.
And they came across in the middle of the woods a 5-foot Bigfoot, which was described as bluish gray.
So kind of like a white. Yeah. Okay.
And it kind of turned and it walked away. So that description of itself matches the Albert Witch legend, which predominantly started in the Amish area, which is the reason why it triggered in my head here, because Alb in German means elf.
Huh.
And actually the word is Albert, Albat, witch,
right.
Wich, does not mean a witch like we think of,
right around on a broom, right?
Right. The witch means something else as well in German. So it means elfin being or some something. I gotta reread the article because that term I'm not familiar with in German. Meine Wortschatz ist kaputt. But the mainstay is that it has a lot of similarities that maybe people were seeing these juvenile Bigfoot.
Right.
But it's just so funny how this Albert Witch legend matches to what the story I heard back in 2004.
Right.
21 years ago, I heard this story. And when I read that, it triggered the story in my head that I heard. I even know the gentleman who told me the story. So I don't know if he's alive or not anymore. But or just out squatching.
Yeah.
All right, Chris. I think we're going to wrap it up for tonight, sir.
I want to clear something up for finding the track here. It's not like that all the butter we had in our house was churned by me. No. I had churned butter, but we did have margarine and butter in the refrigerator that came from the store. Okay.
I can't believe it's not butter.
Yeah, I don't want to give anybody any wrongful thinking about how I grew up. Yeah.
Didn't Fabio used to sound like Arnold Schwarzenegger?
He was in one of those commercials. I can't remember.
Yeah, I can't believe it's not butter.
Yes.
Right, that's why you said that.
Get
to the chopper now.
He was a deal back then. But yeah.
Well, Chris, let's get out of here. Let's thank Pudgewicky. That is from New England. Pudgewicky. Yep, I've heard of those. Rhode Island. Big time in Rhode Island.
Yeah, no hair. No. Thank you guys for hanging out with us tonight. We appreciate having you. And we know we got the greatest audience we could ever hope for.
We sure do.
Thank you for joining us. We appreciate you so much. And if you hadn't already subscribed to the channel, please do. Smash that like button on the way out if you hadn't already. And any of you guys listening over on the podcast, come on over to the YouTube channel, youtube.com/@SquatchDTV, and check out the channel. And, you know, I always say this and I always mean it, you know, because you guys are so great. We love you guys. Thank you so much. We would not be here doing this if it weren't for you. And we know that. We don't have a show without you. So thank you very much for hanging out with us on Sunday nights and sometimes Wednesday and Fridays too. Thank you, guys.
I'm going to try something for the first time.
What are you going to do?
All right, folks. Thank you, everybody, for coming tonight. All right, anyway. We do have the greatest audience in the world. We want to wish everybody a happy and safe week. We'll be coming back at you Wednesday night at 9 p.m. Eastern right here on youtube.com/@SquatchDTV. And, folks, anytime, just drop me a comment, drop me a line, drop me a comment over there. Make sure to like, share, subscribe this video. To all our new folks out there, welcome, welcome, welcome. We do have the greatest audience in the world, so welcome to the greatest of all time. Folks, we'll see you all here in a few days. Until then, God bless, keep safe, and of course, keep on squatching. Peace out, folks.
We thank you for being here with us on Squatch-D TV. If you haven't taken the time yet, please hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. And oh yes, hit that notification bell too. We don't want you to miss anything. If you really like our content, you should consider becoming a member, and it's really inexpensive and a great way to support not only the show, but honest Bigfoot research. Everyone have a great week. Be safe and God bless. We will see you all here next time on Squatch-D TV. Keep on squatching.